Back in the 8th century, one of the earliest rent-seeking energy scam artists cooked up a perpetual motion machine. He called it the magic wheel. Now, since then, there's been a succession of energy miracles being proposed and promised, including, if you can believe it, a self-blowing windmill. Now, the Royal Academy of Sciences in Paris got fed up with all this nonsense, and so in 1775, they said they're not going to accept or deal with proposals concerning perpetual motion anymore. Since then, the various grifters have evolved onto other forms of energy solutions, and don't get me wrong, these miracles still always require other people's money to make them apparently viable, but they have found a new traction amongst a new bunch of wide-eyed zealots. You might know them as renewable energy aficionados, most notably those peddling wind and solar power as a solution to all our problems. We're constantly told they generate power for free and will save the planet from carbon dioxide, fossil fuels and global warming. Unfortunately, the truth is far from that. But let me acknowledge right from the outset, yes, we can generate electricity from solar power and wind. However, these supplies can only be delivered with huge start-up and ongoing subsidies from you, the taxpayer. The number of times we've been told they're now cheaper than old-fashioned reliable power plants, and yet somehow the new projects don't get off the ground without the benefit of someone else's cash. Back in 2016, a company chaired by perpetual energy spruiker and loser of the unlosable election, Dr. John Hewson, claimed they were going to build the cheapest and most efficient solar thermal power plant in the world at South Australia's Port Augusta. We were told the initial stage would be completed within a year and it would require no government funding to support its, quote, conservative business case. Well, 5 years later, we'd still be sitting in the dark if we were relying on that project to light up our lives. The advocates for renewable energy continue to blow wind up investors' and taxpayers' wallets with turbines of terror, also known as wind farms. Even green evangelist Dr. Bob Brown doesn't want them in his backyard, while the likes of Zali Steggall, you remember her? She's elected on a platform of green promises, hasn't yet sought to have them erected on the northern beaches of Sydney, despite a petition for her to do so. Perhaps you can go and sign it. But that's hardly surprising, you see, as according to a website, this global warming evangelist is still waiting for a quote, suitable electric car, and she doesn't want a wind farm in Warringah. Well, here's a tip. Most people don't want them in their backyard either.
We have John
Kerry. It's not just the lack of cost competitiveness and poor reliability of these technologies that make them a folly. The cleanup after their somewhat useful subsidised life is done is hardly ever mentioned. This is the dark side of clean energy. It's that their production and disposal creates more pollutants than the fossil fuels they're designed to replace. You see, solar panels are filled with noxious chemicals and toxic metals, and they're often dumped in third world landfills, because we don't want them in this country, where the poisons then leach into the water supply. Not only are these developing nations being denied reliable and dispatchable power from coal and gas, they're now being poisoned by the very technology claiming to save them. But there is hope on the horizon, so we're told. Hydrogen power is being touted as the next best thing, and it's attracted hundreds of millions of dollars in government money. See, hydrogen is abundant. The technology apparently works. It's clean, and it is the answer to our future energy demands. Or is it?
There's no mention of the wildlife destruction caused by solar and wind farms. No mention of that. But if you watch TED Talks, Michael Schellenberger, he goes into it in some detail. Birds, bats, desert fauna and flora, gone.